Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Dean Rogers. I could not be more excited. We have a very special guest with us today. I've got my good friend Kyle Stanley. We'll be doing an interview with him. Welcome to the interview, Kyle.
All right. Awesome, Dean. Can't wait to do this, man.
Let's go, baby. All right. Kyle, you and I are friends. We met through real estate and, been working closely kind of with each other in the same real estate market and been watching what we've been doing. And, just like we probably both agree, we've both been kind of contributing to creating just a really great community atmosphere in the community that we invest in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and let's just pause and rewind really quick because let's tell the honest truth was that I was trying to track you down for like 3 or 4 months, bugging you to get on my podcast. And you're like, who is this guy? I don't know if you even remember that. That was like 3 years ago now, but glad we finally did connect and became good friends. But yeah, man, I mean, we've got a really amazing community over here in Fresno, and just love being able to especially seeing you just jump a lot more into that too with a lot of the meetup groups. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's super fun. And, that just kind of goes into you as a person. You're someone who's not only got a lot of value to offer, but you give a lot of value to people and just a great person. So let's dive into it, man. So gotta say it because it's fun to say. You've got the largest Facebook group for Airbnb in the world called Airbnb Mastermind. So that's pretty cool, man.
It's pretty awesome. I can't say that I have some sort of strategy that got me there, but it just
You picked a
started.
good name.
I think it's the name. I think there's a little bit, I don't know, maybe the picture, maybe just the algorithm of everything just clicks. You start getting a lot of ads, and before you know it, like everyone's trying to add themselves. But just asterisk next to that, biggest Facebook group in the world for hosts. There's a couple like guest related ones that are out there
Sure.
that are not that are a little bit bigger, but yeah, for hosts for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so let's dive into it. So you're just for the audience, that may or may not know you for the first time. You're Mr. Airbnb master, Airbnb guru, because you figured it out, right? You figured it out. You systemized it. You created a business around it. You've scaled it, and you've got an incredible business, man. A lot to be proud of. So not easy accomplishment. So let's dive into it, man. So how did you even get started in real estate at all?
Yeah, same way as you, man. I one day was just like, man, what is the best way to get started in a passive income stream? And I mean, just to kind of back it up a little bit different from you, I didn't go through the professional sports route, but the sports world was where I was at. I was a sports anchor right out of college. Then I started my own business making videos for high school athletes, trying to help them get recruited to play in college.
Mm.
And then just kind of tried a bunch of different routes from there, from sales jobs to multi-level marketing. I just tried a lot of stuff. And it's not that I necessarily, failed. It's just that I was gaining a lot of knowledge at that time of like what I didn't like, what I did like, and a lot of the skills that I developed, I think made me ready for the real estate world. Because as soon as my dad actually got bone cancer and went into hospice. And it was at that time where it was just like, okay, I gotta stop work. I gotta block out all things at this point. And when you kind of are forced to pause, one of the main things that happens is you start to reflect on what you're actually doing. It's kind of like sharpening your axe, right? Like you can go and try to just keep on chopping down a bunch of trees with a dull axe, but as soon as you stop and sharpen it is when
Mm-hmm.
you really start making some serious progress. And at that point in my life, I was just like, man, I am not creating a business based around the lifestyle that I want. And the only way to really do that is through passive income. And so I started Googling and listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, and everything that was around real estate. And I kept looking at apartments. And then before I know it, I get this, Facebook ad that says, hey, Than Merrill and his crew are coming to your town. And so I'm going to a Fortune Builders event thinking, okay, it'll just be another great thing to learn about flipping and wholesaling. But then before you know it, I'm dropping a big amount of money to invest in starting this flipping business. And that was January 6th of 2019. And I never looked back from there.
Wow, man. Wow. Just over a short period of time too, have you like really grown things and scaled things? So that's impressive. So I think you have a similar story to a lot of entrepreneurs, is just you've got a desire to create something of your own and make your own way in life and kind of own your own destiny. And so you tried out different things. You maybe, I know we've talked about the sports anchor world and just how it's so cutthroat and just really the who's who and whose favor you're doing and like all this kind of stuff that's behind the scenes you don't really see, and how it's maybe going to be quite a tough uphill battle that might not pay off. So for you, you started looking and researching and testing things out and seeing what worked for you, and stumbled upon real estate through, another coaching education program.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's honestly like, to me, if you're serious about being an entrepreneur, you have to be ready to, again, I don't use the word fail, but you just have to be ready to kind of fall flat on your face and realize that the first thing that you do is probably not going to be the thing. One of my mentors for a little bit in my life was the owner of Max Preps. I actually went to college with his son. Wow. And so I kind of, hit him up and told him like, this is the business that I'm doing. And it was the sports, video business. And he was a mentor of mine for a little bit. And it took him 17 tries. He failed in 17 businesses before he opened up Max Preps. And it was Max Preps now is a multi-million-dollar business. And he said he would have done it again and again because, it's on top of that, like, it's not even worth it if the first thing that you try at, you're so, wildly successful at. Where's the fun in looking back and saying, man, remember the grind that I went through? Like, I think that's some of the really good parts about being an entrepreneur. If you've ever seen that graph, it's like, during the day of the life of an entrepreneur, like, I can't wait to start the day. Why am I even doing this? I'm really good at this. Never mind. I can't believe what I was thinking. No, wait, I'm terrible. And like,
yeah.
You have to go
I love that
moments. I mean, even Gracie and I were talking about it last night. It's just like there's still all these things that you fear, even though you feel like you've quote unquote made it. There's still all these things that you're kind of looking over your shoulder and like, oh man, what if, and it's those things too that kind of push you a little bit, but at the same time, looking back at all the struggles is what makes it worth it.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, every success story I hear, has those ups and downs, and part of that you kind of hope you go through, not that it's fun to go through it. Right. But you learn a lot about yourself. You learn about what you're good at, what you're not good at. You appreciate that much more the effort it took to get to where you're at finally, once you kind of get on the other side, and it hardens you and builds skills to be resilient, to be consistent, to be resourceful, all those different things that you have to have as a business owner. Otherwise, if everything you touch is gold, you're going to touch the next thing that might just explode and destroy you and everything around it. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing too. If you don't go through some of those struggles in the beginning and then you have success right away, a road bump can feel like a roadblock, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have one bad month and suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I should just go ahead and quit now because you haven't gone through any struggles. I think it's those struggles that create those calluses for us so that we can, have that mental toughness when things do hit, when stuff hits the fan, you're able to deal with it a little bit better. And honestly, I think that's why a lot of like former athletes are great business and great business owners, great entrepreneurs, because they have that mental toughness. And sometimes that's something that's really tough to teach later in life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Getting that early on, rather than kind of coasting. And then you decide you want to be an entrepreneur later on in life. You're like, oh my God, this is hard. You know what I mean? But it's, yeah, I mean, what you said was so good there. So let's dive into your story about, well, I want to make sure I don't say this the wrong way. I can't remember if it was couch surfing or the house hacking. I can't remember if there was two elements of that or how you ended up doing it, but let's get into how you uncovered Airbnb and the strategy, kind of like not on purpose.
Yeah, no. I mean, first of all, I bought my first house before I was doing real estate, just my own personal residence, and that was in 2014. 2015 was when I was like, hey, I can barely afford my mortgage. I probably bought a house way too soon. They don't tell you about all these closing costs. They don't tell you about like all the little things that you're going to need to fix once you actually own your first home, especially if it was an older build like mine. And I was just like, I need to get a way to pay for my mortgage. So I had two roommates, but I had a fourth room that was not being used. And I was just kind of thinking, oh, I'll get a third roommate. I'm talking to a friend of mine who lives in Vegas. He's like, dude, put that thing on Airbnb. It's 2015. I don't know what Airbnb is. I was like, what in the world is that? And he's like, it's basically like Uber, but for your house. You just basically put it up on Airbnb. People book it. They come in, they stay. And I was like, dude, that sounds super sketchy. And he was like, well, sketchy or not, because for the last 5 months, I've done that with my girlfriend and we've made $7,000 in the last 5 months.
Dang, yeah.
That's what I need. So I did that. I was in Phoenix, Arizona at the time. And sure enough, I was making, an extra $800 to $1,000 a month when I was serious about it. And the cool thing was I could control when I did it. If I wanted to have some friends over, I'd block off the weekend. If I wanted to, go ahead and let people in, I opened up the weekend. And so it was a really great opportunity to kind of get in there. I got super host status, which at the time I had no idea what that meant. And I was just trying it out. And then skip ahead, 3 years into it, I'm now starting my real estate career. And I was like, well, that's I guess I've kind of been doing a version of real estate. I've either had like a roommate paying me rent or Airbnb, and found out that was house hacking. And the curiosity, honestly, Dean, just came one day when I was like, I wonder what would happen if I put my entire house on Airbnb and just like locked everything of importance away for me, like while I'm gone. And I did that, and I made crazy good money while being away from my house for like 3 days. I think my vacation cost me like $500 and I made like $400. It almost paid for the entire vacation for 3 days.
Dang, yeah.
And I was like, all right, there's something to this. Get into real estate, start flipping houses, decide to hold on to one of my houses as a rental. But, John Bustamante, good friend of ours and also a mentor of mine, he was like, I don't see this being an Airbnb, but if you want to try it, because I kind of like did some numbers there, Dean. And I was like, long-term rental, net income, maybe $600. Short-term rental, I don't know if I'm evaluating this right, but I think I can make like 3 to 3.5 times as much as a short-term rental. And John was like, maybe, I don't know. Tell me how that goes, but I don't think that would work in Fresno. Sure enough, the first few months I was averaging right around that $1,800 to $2,000 a month. And that got me in the whole like rabbit hole of just what else can I do with Airbnb? I'm calling Airbnb. I still remember the phone call. Hey, how many listings can I put on Airbnb? They're like, as many as you want. I'm like, really? And so I just got to this point. I'm like, cool, I can do this thing. And then I listened to one podcast about how you can do this without owning a house. And that light bulb moment of like, wait, I don't have to put a down payment on a home, or I don't have to go, and find it through a wholesaler, renovate it, refinance it, and wait that entire 6 months to get all the money back. I can go literally and talk to a landlord right now, and tomorrow be signing a lease or signing a contract with them and be making money 7 to 10 days later. That blew my mind. And from there, I was sold. I was all in.
Yeah. No, there's Airbnb in itself is a niche, but there's other little niche things you can do within it. Again, just what I love about real estate is there's so many opportunities. Mm-hmm. And so you took your prior experience, then you committed financially, right, and mentally to invest in real estate by joining the education program.
Yeah.
And then you were like, okay, now I'm taking this more serious. I'm already kind of doing this. You seeked out some additional help from other people, just to kind of like bounce ideas off, something that is almost obvious, but stuff that people don't do. Like that, one of the best things you can do, whether you're just getting started or experienced, is lean on your community and don't just ask and take, but like, show that you're you're hungry, you're getting after it, and maybe you can provide some value to them, right?
Yeah.
People who have already been successful like to see people that are pushing and getting after it, and aren't just like trying to steal your time for information, So, um,
Well, and Dean, what you just said there about value too, I think is super important, because so many people think, oh, well, even if I were a brand new investor going to talk to Dean Rogers, what possible value can I provide to Dean? He knows everything that I want to know. We'll get outside of that box a little bit and say, well, what are you good at? And one of the things that I identified that I was good at in the beginning was video. So what did I do? I said, well, maybe I'll go ahead and make a YouTube channel and a podcast and just interview all these big names in my market and beyond my market. It got me to have relationships with guys like Matt Garabedian and Don Costa and you and Michael Zuber and Stratton and John and Aaron and Cletus and all these people that were way light years beyond me. But because I was able to say, hey, what if I did a podcast or a YouTube video with you, and then you could send it to your investors and kind of show off, and we can, that's the way that I can provide value to you. I found something that got me in the same room with these people and actually made them pay attention to me. And so if you're good at writing, if you're good at numbers, if you're good at the big thing I know, Dean, that you and I have talked about is I still don't get NFTs. I have no idea what in the hell they are. And so if you get me in front of someone that can explain it and actually verbalize it to me, or can be my NFT guy, and I know that that's a decent investment right now, there's some value right there. If there's anything in your Rolodex of your skills that you can provide to people that you want to get in the same room with, start identifying that and find a way to not monetize it, but to essentially bring it as your value piece to that room.
Yeah, that's such a good juicy nugget, because when you're just getting started out, you feel like you got nothing to offer,
Yeah.
right? You don't feel like you have a good story. You don't feel like you have any experience. You don't feel like you're just hoping for kind of latching onto something that's going to catch, and you're kind of, or if you're already doing some stuff, right, you're trying to get to that next level. And so you're trying to kind of build on your relationships and level up. And so you gotta think a little bit there. What's unique about me? And there, for every single person, even if it's some sad story about where you got to where you're at, and you had some sort of upbringing, or you had some really cool, unique story, right? There's something about you that you might not realize that other people will gravitate towards. Again, like your skill set around video and interviewing, that's how we met, like you said,
Yeah.
So,
well, and you even look at a guy like Stratton, a good friend of ours, he was 23 when he started a meetup group, and maybe had done one or two deals as a wholesaler at that time. How much imposter syndrome did he go through to say,
right.
Am I even worth starting a meetup group? You look at guys like Jason Pritchard, who have just this enormous following, enormous knowledge. And then Stratton's over here, I got barely anything, but I'm going to start a meetup group just like Jason. I'm sure there was a lot of doubt in his mind, but it was just as simple as that, to literally be able to have I remember the first meetup I went to with Stratton, and I was just like, oh, this guy's a big deal. And at that, I didn't realize at that time he'd only done 2 deals. It's it's perceived. Sometimes it's even just perceived value.
Yeah, no question about it. Well, cool, man. So kind of went through your story, how you got into it. How did you actually figure out how to do a business? Was it the light bulb moment for you of, hey, I've already got some stuff going, but like most people, I don't just have a piggy bank over here that's overwhelmingly large to just bootstrap everything here. I need to get creative and a little bit scrappy how to grow my business and do it in such a way that works for me financially, right? So was it the light bulb moment of doing the arbitrage?
It was. And so I guess the long story short of it is, I got this first property. I'd birded this first property. So for everyone that is, I'm sure, listening, they probably know, but I'll just go over that. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So I put in 150 of someone else's money into this. Sorry, I put in 220 of someone else's money into this property, renovate it, and then it refinanced for 315, got all my money back. It paid for the furniture. But as you and I both know, unless you have marketing going out or, a streamlined set of people that are bringing you deals, that's really difficult. You're kind of waiting back for those calls to come in for those deals.
Far and few between opportunities. Yeah.
Exactly. So when I heard about arbitrage, I was like, I literally can just jump onto HotPads, Zillow, and Facebook Marketplace today and find, I don't know, 100, 200 different rentals that I could talk to right now. And that's what I did. So I started with apartment complexes and I was just knocking on apartment complex doors and saying to leasing agents, hey, do you have any 1-1s available? I got all my no's there. I think I got like 15 to 20 no's right off the bat. Finally got a yes. That turned into, and that's the big thing I'll just kind of say here is like, it's just like if you were to do cold calling for anything, you're going to get 90%, 99% no's, but that one yes, it gets you in the game. It just gets that momentum going. And so I got in the game and made my $1,000 arbitraging a 1-1 apartment my first month. And I was like, wow, like if I'm netting $1,000 on a little 1-1, what can I do with more? And so I did go out and I bought a few properties because all I saw at that point, Dean, was still like, all right, I see the proof of concept, it's working, but I still am in this mindset of like, you got to own the property, right? It's that you got to have the cash, you got to have the cash flow plus the tax advantages, plus the debt, plus the appreciation. Like you're just in that mindset of like wealth. But what I forgot to really think about is, well, real estate is a great place to store your money once you have it, but it's not necessarily the place that you build your, a little bit of wealth. But if you really want to build massive wealth, you need to have more cash. More cash equals more buying power equals more opportunity to get more properties. So I got to essentially one that I owned, one that I arbitraged, and then I bought 2 more. And I was like, all right, I'm out of cash. I don't know what to do. Like, I guess I need to go back to this arbitrage thing. And so I went back to arbitrage, got 2 more. I'm at 6 now. And then this is where the momentum started picking up. People were like, hey, I heard that this guy Kyle is doing Airbnb. Do you have his phone number? And people started calling me. And I had this one owner who was a friend of someone that I was arbitraging from. And I guess we should stop for a second. Arbitrage is you lease it from the owner, sublease it on Airbnb, keep the profit. So if I lease it for $1,500 and I rent it out on Airbnb for $4,500 and my other expenses are called another $1,000, $4,500 minus $1,000 of expenses minus $1,500 for rent, that's still $2,000 of net profit, or sorry, I just lost the numbers in my head. Yeah, $2,000 net profit for me at a property that I don't even own. So I'm arbitraging from this owner, and she refers me over to someone else who says, hey, I heard you do an Airbnb. I'm thinking about buying some property in Fresno. I live in Palo Alto. Prices are crazy over here. I can't do it over here. Can I do it with you in Fresno? And can you manage it? This was something I didn't know about. Co-hosting. That's the quote unquote term for this, managing other people's short-term rentals. And I was like, well, maybe that'll work. Let me do some numbers. Did some numbers for him. Looked like it could work. He literally went and bought a house for me to manage. I did that. And this was February of 2020. Do you remember what happened in March 2020, Dean?
Let me remember. Yep.
COVID hit, and we all had this oh crap moment. I was wondering what in the world is going to happen with my properties after 2 months in the dust. What's that?
I remember you calling me.
Yeah, Dean, help.
No, it wasn't so much hope. It was more like, what do you think? You know?
I remember that for sure. And so after the dust settled, after about 2 months, I was like, hey, the 3 properties that I've kept on Airbnb, they're still booking at a clip of about 90%, a little bit lower rents, but not much. And I just started telling everyone, I'm like, hey, Airbnb is surviving COVID. This thing is working. And on the back end of when everyone was like, okay, now the dust is settling for really everyone, this was about July or August, I got 16 calls I got about 10 calls with owners who had 16 properties ready for me to go and co-host for them.
Wow.
And so we went from literally 7 properties to 23 to 25, what felt like overnight.
Holy
and
smokes.
that went from about $8,000 of cash flow to about $25,000 of cash flow. And my life was changed. And so now today, 3 years later, we're just coming up on our 3rd year anniversary. In 3 different markets, we've got about 65 properties. About 85% of them are co-hosting, about 10% are arbitrage, and then about 5% are of the ownership variety. So
that's so good.
And crazy, man.
Yeah, it is crazy. What I love about what you said there, again, just another thing that I can't help but just like gush over is just the idea of, again, going to value. Like what do you offer from a value standpoint when you're just getting started, or you're already doing stuff and trying to get to the next level, which is exactly where you were. Mm-hmm. You had enough relationships, right? Probably a lot because you had that presence through the video and doing the interviews with other people in our community and outside of it. And that kind of snowballed to open up the door to other relationships. You're now known as the Airbnb guy, right? So I love the idea of being out there in your community, doing something at an excellent level, performing at a high level, doing things right and building good relationships, so that it's that law of attraction. And so the universe just pulled that to you, right? Those opportunities, and boom, things change. And not to spend too much time on it, but it's kind of the same thing that happened to us around the same time, where we really put it out there. Hey guys, we're still doing business regardless of the scamdemic. We're increasing our business. We're actually doing better than we have before because we continue to push, and we're uniquely better in X, Y, and Z area. And most of that comes to, besides the fact we're doing flips and we're buying rentals and have, rental portfolio, we're doing wholesaling at a scale. And that took traction, and people were like, well, then help me with my deals, right? Yeah. Help me get it under contract. Help me negotiate the deal. Help me sell it to a cash buyer at top dollar. And we did over $1 million in revenue last year as a result of that growing, right?
So yeah. I was going to say, yeah, it's the same thing as you're referring to your friends with benefits program. I know. And like, just even naming that and being so vocal with that, like in a competitive market, I'm not in a competitive market, right? I'm one of 3 people that do what I do in Fresno. And so when you compare the 3, it's like, all right, there's not a whole lot of decision to make here, but like, hey, I've got a deal. I don't know who to go with because it's my first time deal. You've got tons of competition. There's tons of people doing what you're doing. So for you to be able to set yourself aside from everyone else, first of all, with your character and doing what you say you're going to do, because it doesn't matter what market gimmick you have, if you don't have an actual, drive to actually follow through with what you say you're going to do, then it really doesn't matter. It's just the golden rule, right? So, but then on top of that, like being able to say, hey, when you bring us your deal, here's what you get. We're going to send it out to our list. We're going to split it 50-50. Like all these other people are doing that. I know Garabedian does, and I'm sure Jason does, and I'm sure Stratton does that, but like, you're the only one that's being vocal about that. And I think that's the other part of it is, if you, and John even taught me this as being my mentor, he said, if you aren't telling everyone what you're doing, then you don't have a business. And that to me is the number one reason why people never get to that point of like having to go and find leads. Like if you are just telling everyone what you're doing and you're unique enough or you do it well enough, eventually your phone starts to ring instead of you having to go out and ring everyone else's phone and continue to do that. But so many people have a scarcity mindset of like, well, if I tell everyone what I'm going to do, then I'm going to saturate the market. And then I'm going to not have as nearly as many deals, or those deals are going to be lower value, and you start talking yourself out of it. But that's definitely something that I'm a huge believer in, is abundance mindset. And you got to tell everyone what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I was there for years where I was really focused on just me and my mission and, my immediate circle of people, and viewed other people as competition. Right. Not that I was going out there swinging elbows or anything. I did business the right way, but it wasn't until I really genuinely shifted my mindset and proactively not only talked about it, like you said, but provided value, serious, tangible value to other people, stuff just started taking off. And, you're doing the same thing. There's no question. And you've become known as the guy. So that's what I love about just working hard and leaning on your community, building those relationships and getting results. And it just kind of snowballs from there and really picks up and becomes really fun too.
Oh yeah, 100%. When you can know that you're not just doing it for yourself, but doing it for other people and helping other people to level up as well. I mean, that's what life's all about, right? If I just collect a bunch of money and only spend it on my own, how fulfilling is that? But
yeah,
if I can do that for my family, if I can do that for other people's families and help them level up, that's a fun, fulfilling life for sure.
Yeah. Creating impact is cool. So how did you figure out what worked? Because obviously to go from doing a couple on your own and probably having some bumps and bruises and doing some good things, making some mistakes, how did you finally get to where it clicked and you created the right systems and processes around it?
There was no one moment. I think the entire time it was just, I'm just going to be a problem solver and figure it out, I started out and I was manually messaging people. I had no idea about tools. At the time it was called Smart B&B. Now it's called Hospitable. Had no idea. I was literally almost this close to creating a course and had no idea what that was. That's how deep into the weeds I was. But again, it was all right, cool. Found out about this new thing. Going to try it. I'm sure I'm going to mess it up in the beginning, but then I'm going to try it and refine it and figure it out. And I think that's what any system is. You try it, it's in beta, you kind of try to figure out, is this the best way to do it? Okay, it is. Now let's document it and let's go ahead and put it into, a way that if we bring in any sort of employees or virtual assistants, that it's already there for them in a video or written form, and they can just go ahead and take over and go from there. So it's honestly just been a lot of trial and error. And that's the big thing is I know a lot of people, they'll come to me and they say, well, I'm coming to you and I want you to be my coach because I don't want to make mistakes. And it's okay, yeah, I get you don't want to make mistakes, but there's no such thing as not making mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Even if I teach you the right way, you're still going to do it accidentally or on purpose the wrong way. And you're going to have to learn that. It's just like telling the kid not to put their hand on the hot stove. They don't believe you. They do it anyway. And now they know not to do it. And so, the idea is not to make mistakes. It's to be able to say, okay, Kyle, what are the major mistakes that you learned that held you back from growing? And let's go from there. So yeah, have I grown really fast? Yeah, absolutely. But the theory is if you can learn from someone who has grown fast and still can look back and say, man, I could have grown even faster if I wanted to, learn from those mistakes. I got a brand new student here. Actually, him, Dean Lame. It took me over a year to get to 12 units. He's got 12 units in his first 10 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But that is legitimately someone who said, hey, show me all the big mistakes you made. I'm not going to make them. Let's just go and hit the ground running. And the guy created a gross 6-figure business in under a month and created a net 6-figure business. It'll be now in under 3 months.
Whoa, mama.
Yeah. Now he came with a lot of sales experience, which was definitely an advantage for him, but now he's got to figure out how to systematize the dang thing. And so that's what we're working on together now, because he's got 6 setups going on at once. And he's like, I gotta get myself out of this business. So
yeah,
out of the day-to-day, I should say, the business. Yeah. So the long story short there is, you jump in and you learn from someone else so that you can learn from their biggest mistakes, not so that you can't make any mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's good. So you've created the systems, you've learned what's worked, continue to iterate on that and improve it. Right. So you've scaled the business, you're managing, doing the co-hosting, you're also doing the coaching, which you just touched on now. Like what has that been like for you?
Like I mentioned, fulfilling,
It's probably
have
made
this.
you better at what you do too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was a baseball player, and I didn't become an actually good baseball player until I started coaching. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, I mean, just to give the sports analogy, I was a coach at Fresno High for a year, as a assistant freshman coach, and one of the kids on the team, he was one of the most athletic guys on the team, but his every time he threw the ball, it was like a rainbow. There was nothing behind it. And I told him one day, I identified, I was like, hey, your torso, you're not bringing your torso into it. You're just literally arm up and throw. Like, let me see your numbers. I want to see your numbers when you're throwing the ball to me on the back of your shirt. And as I told him that, I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, and so before I know it, like I'm teaching him how to throw, and I'm throwing better too. And it's exactly the same in anything here. Like, I get, especially because I get so many questions that I've never gotten before, that I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, that's a great question. I never thought about that. Maybe I should go take a look. And it just elevates how quickly you move. But yeah, it's been fulfilling because, I mean, to be able to see, like we've got one guy, he's an engineer. He's one of my top students. He's got 16 units now, about a year and a half in. They grossed six figures year one, and he's an engineering job, and he's trying to get out of it, and he's pretty close to being able to do that. Just had his first kid, and wants to be home and be closer to his family. And so it's stories like that and things like that that make it really fun. And yeah, I mean, it's cool to also get invites to speak in Nashville at events, and be there for 3 days and be on stage in front of 1,000 people, which is happening in June. So that's pretty cool too.
Wow, man, that's cool.
Yeah,
That'll be
I'm
fun.
excited about that for sure.
So, what do you think you like most about Airbnb? Because again, you got into the real estate world, you got into education. Most of the education was around flipping houses and doing wholesaling and buying rental properties. So, what do you think it is about Airbnb specifically that you like most?
Mm. Um, it's extremely, I'm going to probably create a word by saying this. It's extremely systematizable. You can just systemize everything. And I know you can do that in just about any business, but I mean, literally to just see that if I've got something that I'm putting too much effort into, there's a solution to be able to remove myself from that part of the business. Um, and on top of that, the simplicity, not ease. I actually posted this in my Facebook group the other day and got a lot of crap. I said, this business is super simple. You find a place, you furnish it, and you list it on Airbnb, and you start watching the money come in. Simple, not easy. All right.
Yep.
It's tough. It's tough to know how to talk to the landlord, how to be able to actually go and systematize setting up a property and then creating the listing and out the algorithm, the marketing. There's a lot of pieces to it. But I just love how simple it is, because that's really it. You don't have to own the property. It's the new way to invest in real estate, to be honest. You don't have to own the property. You can take what someone else owns and has worked really hard to purchase, and you can list it on Airbnb without having to show any proof that that house is yours or someone else's.
That's
And you
pretty
could
crazy.
literally, like, in the next 24 hours, see 3 bookings come in for over $3,000. Like, it's holy cow. Like, I've never seen money come in so simply. Again, I hate to use the word easy. But I would say, yeah, just the systems and the simplicity of the business. And then, from there, as long as you understand the concept, then you can figure out the minutia as you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I love that. So let's talk about some crazy stories. So doing an Airbnb, it's kind of like running a hotel, right?
Yeah.
Where some people are not going to treat it with as much respect as you would hope and think, but human beings are human beings, and some are, respectful and some aren't. So what are your like rock star story, trash to place type stories? I heard, so gosh, what was that movie? where it was just like a big party. They either were at someone's house
Oh, something
or
X.
yeah, Project X or something like that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah, that was a
So
good one.
there's a guy who you probably know here in San Diego, and he had a bunch of different Airbnbs and was doing the co-hosting. He runs a mastermind as well. And I was in a small local mastermind with him, and he told a story like Project X,
Oh
where
my gosh.
it was some kid, he was supposed to be going off to the military. And then the short story is that didn't happen, but he had certain things set up in the Airbnb that would trigger things. So if too many people logged onto the Wi-Fi, it would send them an alert. If there was some other, if there was too much noise, like there was a noise
Noise
capturing
aware.
machine, too
Yeah.
much noise is set off an alert. So these alerts were just blasting on his phone, and was in a meeting and was like, I got to check this out. So he went to the property, and it was like Project X, where there was limo service, like there was valet service. There was valet service. Drive right up, get your car valeted. There was bouncers out front collecting entry fees. He said he walked into the backyard. There was a hot tub full of 8 topless girls in the hot tub. Like, he walked into a crazy scene and called the cops. Cops showed up, and they said they gave the guys who hosted it like a really hard time, kind of like making it think like they were totally busted. And it turned out fine. They did do some damage to some of the furniture because it was like a nice house on a hilltop with views and
Right.
pool and everything. So they had to pay for that. But that was the craziest story I've heard so far. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, here's the good news is that we do a really good job of pre-screening our guests. So the quote unquote crazy stories are to a very, very minimum. I also pay my team really well to not bring those problems to me because I know they can solve them themselves.
Yeah.
But there's still some that kind of have leaked through. So I think the there was 2 back-to-back weeks where it was like there was something in the air with prankers in Fresno. Like, one of my cleaners showed up, sent a picture we got a WhatsApp group. And I rarely check this thing, but sometimes I'll check it and just to keep a pulse on, is everything going well? And sent a message to this WhatsApp group with all of our cleaners and said, what do I do? And it looked like a homemade bomb. And we were just like, you dropped that, you called the cops right away. Cops showed up. They were like, yep, it was a fake, but you did the right thing. So whoever was there was like, yeah, I'm going to play a prank on whoever comes in and makes them think they're about to die. And then a week later, that same cleaner shows up to a different property. I felt so bad for this one. Same cleaner shows up to a different property, and it must have been a blow up doll or something, but there was a black trash bag with duct tape wrapped around this blow up doll. So it looked like a dead body was in the backyard. So she sent the photo, and she said, I screamed when I saw this, but then when I kicked it, I realized it was only about a pound. So,
oh my gosh.
That was pretty awesome. And then, one of the times one of our cleaners was cleaning a place, and this had nothing to do with the guest, but she heard something in the next room, and she, like, just out of fear started to record, thinking like someone was in the house and just wanted to get it captured. And she sees something move in the blinds, and a freaking squirrel jumps out of the blinds, runs right after her, and she's like running away from the squirrel because she left the front door open and the squirrel came into the house.
Oh my gosh. Did she get that on video too?
She did. It was amazing. I was rolling. But yeah, aside from that, there was one time we had gunshots at a house, but it was outside, and it was because they were celebrating a birthday. That was fun. Getting calls from the neighbors the next day. Great time. But outside of that, there just hasn't been, knock on wood, there hasn't been a lot of issues that we've really been like, holy. And, I've met someone too that has literally had a house burned down on an Airbnb. That's the only person I know that's actually had that happen. And they still are building their Airbnb business. So, like, the worst can happen. It just depends on how mentally tough you are and how ready you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And burned down is actually probably not as bad as someone trashing a house, because trashing a house, you can get some insurance help, but still a lot of that stuff you might come out of pocket with the furniture and stuff like that. Insurance, it's toast, and they're showing up with a check to help support that. So that almost might be better, but still not fun. Not fun at all.
Yeah. I could see the argument there, but I also don't want a house burning down.
No, thanks. Well, cool, man. It's always good talking with you. How can people get a hold of you?
Anything Fearless Investor, Fearless Kyle is kind of everything that I brand. So on Instagram, Fearless Kyle, website is fearlesskyle.com. If you look me up on any podcasts or YouTube, it's going to be the Fearless Investor. And that's honestly the best. I just as a free giveaway right there on my website, fearlesskyle.com. If you are ready to get started in Airbnb and you don't want to do it in terms of owning the house, you want to do it without owning the house, we've got a masterclass. It's about 30 minutes long right there on my website called How to Get Your First Airbnb Without Owning the Property in the Next 30 Days. You can start right there. It's a great place to get the knowledge to be able to go out and build the business.
Love that, man. That's some good juicy stuff right there.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Anything else you want to leave everybody with?
Honestly, man, I was just kind of thinking about it the other day. It's like, I really think there's in an entrepreneur's life, when you find that thing or that next thing, there's a small window of opportunity for you to really capitalize on that. And I found my window. And so if you are at that point where you're like, hey, this is something, whether it's Airbnb or flipping houses or, NFT or whatever it is, like that window, if you see that window, just go for it. And worst that can happen is that you quote unquote fail, but really just learn along the way.
Yeah. Worst case is you're right back where you're at now.
Yep.
Right. Which probably wasn't going to get you that much further.
Yep.
But go after it, man. Go after your dreams. Don't wait. Waiting is the enemy for sure.
Yeah, absolutely,
So,
man.
awesome, man. Always a good time. Always a pleasure. Appreciate your time. And until next time, peace.